Yes, I'm kicking off this panel. It's called The Road to the 1000X Developer, which is a very eye-catching headline, I guess. But I'm really excited because I think we have an excellent panel of AI practitioners, essentially people who are building for developers and really getting hands-on with the technologies that actually work when it comes to AI. So just quick introductions. We got Laurie Voss, co-founder, CTO of NPM, now VP of Developer Relations at LlamaIndex. Anything you want to add to that, Laurie?
No, that's pretty much it.
Everyone should thank you for all the amazing technology that you've created over the years. Thank you. We got Emilio Salvador, who is VP of Developer Relations at GitLab, and I feel like you've done a stint at like every major kind of cloud provider. Yeah, Google, Microsoft, AWS, all of them. So amazing. Anything you want to add?
You said it all.
All right, cool. And then we got Shawn Wang, or Swyx, as he's known in some circles. And I feel like every time I introduce you, I don't know like where to begin. Co-host of the Latent.Space AI podcast, which I'm sure a lot of people here are listeners of. Founder of Small AI, co-organizer of the AI Engineer Conference. Also, you're the one who coined the term AI engineer, right? Okay, so we have a kick-ass panel here. And the theme of this this event is from hype to helpfulness. So one of the things I wanted to ask you all is, we're now over a year into kind of the AI revolution. What are some of the themes that you've teased out when it comes to like building with AI that are actually like practically useful? Like you're looking beyond the hype, looking beyond kind of what people say on Twitter and whatnot. What's actually like kind of like on the ground helpful tips and tricks? Laurie, do you want to kick us off?
Ooh, tough one. I mean, my own perspective working where I work obviously is looking at RAG and looking at the LlamaIndex community. I would say one of the lessons that I've learned is that there is a lot of regular engineering that you need to do before you can get the AI in play. Like before you've got, before you can get beautiful results out of prompting your data has to be clean, right? And your data has to be coming regularly, and you have to make sure that your provenance is good and that it's kept up to date and all of the things that you needed to do with regular ETL systems before AI came around. And likewise, there's a lot of useful work that can be got out of post-processing. So after the AI has done its job, you can look at the results and go, like, was that actually good enough? Was that relevant? Was that in any way useful? And get the LLM to take another swing at it if it hasn't got it right. But all of that stuff, all of those metrics are like, they're regular engineering. They're not like AI engineering.
And for folks who've been living under a rock, can you just give a quick introduction to LlamaIndex?
Sure. LlamaIndex is a pair of libraries in Python and JavaScript or TypeScript, which help you connect LLMs to your data. So we are specifically focused on retrieval augmented generation. That is getting results that are based on your data and not the training set of the LLM. And that's pretty much the potted summary.
Emilio, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think that something that we're seeing across the industry is that, as you said, it's been a year, but the reality is that most of the companies are still lagging behind. That they are still, looking at this from the distance, running some tests internally, looking at it from a privacy and security standpoint. We're seeing some progress in some countries, but that is not happening, across the entire planet. So in EMEA and in APAC, what we see is that people are still struggling with trying to understand how to use this in a way that is private and secure for that. Which is some of the things that some of the challenges that we're facing, from a privacy standpoint, especially in Europe.
Security and privacy emerging as big themes.
Yeah.
It's not always the headline thing, but it's really important to a lot of companies that are trying to adopt this. Swyx?
Yes. So I'm not alone with, you're not alone in that. I've actually given a talk on the title of the sort of 1000X developer.
Probably stole that from you.
And I decomposed it with like 10x improvements on 3 domains. So 10x on internal tooling or code productivity, so that's the AI enhanced engineer. And then 10x in terms of deploying foundation models towards the end user, which is sort of the AI products engineer. And then finally, the most speculative one, which is the 10x in terms of autonomous building, which is the AI actually like non-human engineer. And that's probably the sort of most far out, furthest away, but people are working on that one. The other thing I always talk about in terms of like trying to drive past hype is follow the money. I think it's a very in capitalism. Yeah, in capitalism, there's no more sincere form of appreciation than like me handing over my hard-earned dollars to you, especially on a recurring basis. There are I think like at least four killer use cases that have crossed $100 million, and at this point $100 million. When I wrote this, it was about a year ago, and like so now everything is sort of blown past that. So I think it's the TLDR is like one ChatGPT, which has now crossed $2 billion in annual revenue. Two, it's Copilot, which announced $100 million in revenue at our summit in October, so probably just crossed that now. And also Magic.dev was kind of in that bucket, which just raised $100 million today. Fundraising is not the same as revenue, but it's hopefully a nice leading indicator. And then third is generative images, which is Midjourney, which is now estimated to be like $300 million a year, which is nuts. And then I forget the fourth one, but it's also sort of in that bucket that I memorized. But it's kind of close. But sorry. Are you announcing that it's $100 million in revenue? That would be pretty great. I'm sure like, all the Sourcegraph people.
The road to.
But follow the money, right? I like that. I am also a very big believer in RAG. I think that the AI companies don't really take it seriously because they much rather just put everything in a model. Whereas my whole pitch for the AI engineer is that there is very useful engineering to be done outside of the model or adjacent to the model to add like intelligent, symbolic intelligence to the sort of artificial intelligence that we're building today.
Makes a ton of sense. I think drilling into that a little bit, I feel like if you rewound to 1 year ago, I feel like the thing that everyone was doing a year ago was everyone was trying to like train their own foundation model or invest a lot in fine tuning. There were a lot of like GPT derivatives that came out that were like branded with a specific company. It feels like now that the pendulum has kind of swung in a different direction. RAG is very, very hot now, especially with people putting AI into practice. And this is kind of like it's like a longer running debate than just the past year, right? Like fine tuning versus in context learning or RAG. Do you have thoughts on when either is applicable? And feel free to be provocative here. We would love hot takes.
I have a lot of hot takes about RAG versus fine tuning, as you can imagine. But our take as a company is that you're always going to end up using both, right? If you have enormous resources and you have a very specific task that you're going to need the LLM to perform over and over, then fine tuning is an obvious way of getting it to be better at that task, and not just that goes beyond prompt engineering. If you think of fine tuning as a way to get more recent data into a training set, though, you're probably looking at RAG. Like RAG gets you a whole bunch of things that fine tuning doesn't get you. So it gets you obviously recency, because you can't re-fine tune your model every 10 seconds when a new document enters your database. You're going to need to be looking at semi-real-time stuff using RAG. It gets you provenance, so the LLM can tell you, I got this fact from this specific document that you just gave me. I didn't get it from like my imagination. And it gets you faithfulness, because you can say, don't answer the question if I didn't just give you the answer. Which it turns out is extremely useful with LLMs, because they will just helpfully invent stuff. So we're not in a fight with fine tuning. We are very much complementary.
Yeah, and I think that eventually what we're going to see over time is that those things are going to converge. Right? Eventually, it's going to be cheaper, faster to run your model, basically to retrain them, to fine-tune them, to use RAG. And I think that over time, what we're going to see is that it's going to be cheaper and faster for companies to basically fine-tune the existing models in a way that is applicable to them. How long is that going to take? I don't know. That is the $1 million question.
I will say that we are seeing an enormous amount of interest in specialized models that are not the big foundation models. People are very interested in, like, I need this specific model that, like, you know, finds housing boundaries in real estate maps, like that's fine-tuned for that. Especially with multimodal stuff, there's so many things that an image recognizer can do. Something that is fine-tuned to do that specific kind of image recognition is generally going to be worth it.
And not only specialized, something that you can run on-prem. That is something that we see across different industries. You know, they don't want to rely on an external third party. That is someone that they can run locally using their own data.
And how often are these specialized models specific to a particular company? Like the company has training data, they fine-tuned a model on that data versus someone else they created their own model, open sourced it, or made it generally available for other people.
I don't know that I could answer that question. I mean, we're definitely seeing very large companies fine-tune their own, but I think one of the things that I've learned in the last year is that when you talk about AI within Silicon Valley, you end up talking to other technology companies, and their perspective on how to use AI and how to develop AI is very different from like industries that are out in the general world, right? Like a tech company is like, we are going to build this from scratch, we are going to fine-tune our own model, and we are going to make sure that this is the best thing that you've ever seen. Whereas like an insurance company is like, can we just buy SaaS? Like, can we just throw PDFs in one end and get magic out of the other is really what they would like. And that's fine. Like those two companies both exist, and so depending what you're doing, that market exists.
Saying just +1 on a lot of their stuff. I do think that this sort of synergy between RAG and fine-tuning is going to happen a lot more this year. I am tracking things. Apple put out a paper last month, which I recommend everyone reads, called RAP. I think it's some kind of weird acronym for rephrasing the web, where they effectively took the C4 Common Crawl dataset, or the clean Common Crawl dataset, and ran a Mistral on it to rephrase it and produce much higher quality data than C4. TLDR, it trained a much better model based on the same exact data. And what we're basically seeing, or what I would connect the dots to on the RAG part, is that you can use RAG as source for synthetic data generation to fine-tune, and that is actually better than RAG itself, because that should exactly apply on what we found from Common Crawl. And if that is true, then a lot of things about this like big divide between RAG and fine-tuning come undone, and that's very exciting.
That's very cool. I want to talk about agents for a bit. So, agents are this idea of using large language models to orchestrate autonomous actions, complex actions, multi-step things. So within the context of coding, it's the idea of like, hey, can I give you a high-level description of a bug or a feature, and can I have the AI just go build it? And I want to get your takes on the feasibility of agents, the road ahead for agents, and what is perhaps like the first kind of real world actually works instantiation of an AI agent.
Are you asking me again? We can't get enough of agents. We fucking love them. We have one of the surprises to me. I've only been working at LlamaIndex for 6 months now. Was that agents are sort of bedrock to RAG. Like you can't, unless you're doing just the most basic, find me these top 5 documents and then summarize them for me. You are building an agentic strategy. Your query engine is in fact an agent that's looking at multiple sources. It's comparing them. It's summarizing them. It's conglomerating answers from different sources. Everything starts being agentic really early on, and so. Plugging in actual actions, like, and once you've summarized that, take some action based on that, is a very small delta. So agents are everywhere already in most query engines. that's been my experience so far.
I have a follow-up question, if you don't mind. LlamaIndex has this like concept of a data agent. Would that be like very? How do you define it? And is that very core to your thinking what an agent is?
I think a data agent is just mental sugar on top of
Existing LlamaIndex paradigms, concepts.
Yeah, it's just an agent that's using a lot of data rather than a different class of thing.
And then the feedback to the response to what you just said is that I want to push back on like how agentic your you said things get agentic very early on because presumably because like you have to delegate a bunch of research to an agentic process to do more research. But I feel like most RAG pipelines are just like very simple retrieval things. They're not like indefinitely executing plans that are executed. Like there's no while true loop. There's a bunch of things that are maybe not present for very good reasons, such as you don't want your search to take 10 years to execute, right? So like, how do you define an agent here, and like how much are people letting their RAG process be autonomous rather than deterministic?
I mean, it's really one of our themes of 2024 is think beyond the chatbot. We have seen a lot of chatbots, and if that is literally all you want, if you like, we've given you a pile of data and we want one answer out of it as fast as possible, then yeah, you don't do a particularly agentic strategy. But we do see like full on while true, keep going until you find an agent doing RAG, because if what you want is an action to be taken, you want that action to be completely correct, and you're not as focused on the latency of it. You're like, if it takes you 30 seconds to figure out how to, book me a restaurant, now that's okay. Just book the restaurant. It's good. It would have taken me 5 minutes. Yeah. I mean, is that answering your question?
So I would like to quantify. I know you cannot quantify. It's very hard to quantify it. But you're saying like it gets agentic very early on, and then I'm hearing like it's.
I think maybe one of the distinctions we're going to draw is a lot of people when they say agents, there's some sort of implied execution or mutation that happens within.
All part of the menu.
Loop, like acting in the world a bit, and
so
perhaps that's been a little bit trickier to track or to crack. Versus figuring out what proper context to fetch for a given question.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think really my underlying point here is that the boundary is a lot fuzzier than between RAG and agents. It's like a lot of RAG is agentic. A lot of what you'd think of as like an agent taking steps is actually just RAG.
Okay, so one quick response on just.
I don't want to cut short an interesting discussion, but I think we're running short on.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
I just like this is my podcaster taking over.
We'll all be around later, so please come up to us and ask our questions. I want to continue this discussion later. I think the last question is, we're a year plus change now into kind of the AI revolution, and Shawn, as you mentioned, there's been some big use cases that have emerged. Inline code completions, chat, generative AI as applied to images. I want some predictions for what are going to be the big new use cases, $100 million opportunities that emerge this year.
I mean, it is. If anyone has not checked out Sora from OpenAI today, you definitely should. I think video, anything that where basically takes people from 0 to 1 in terms of their capability. I always like it just in general, not even outside the context of AI. In terms of businesses, I like it when you allow people to do things on their own that usually they would have to hire a human for. And text to video is definitely one of those. I mean, generative text was my fourth one, by the way. Like early on, like Jasper was a very big winner of the sort of pre-ChatGPT AI enhanced businesses wave. But like text to video is like a really nice, easy, quick answer. But we've done a podcast with Suno, which is generative music, and people are like exploring all sorts of different generative modalities that enable you to effectively hire human equivalent talent serverlessly, like on demand, that you would otherwise have to go to like Fiverr or like hire some contractor or in-house person. So you basically you're seeing like a 100 to 1,000x reduction in cost for these things. Yes, the quality is lower, but it's going to be good enough for a lot of people, and that's where you see the money come in. So multimodality.
I think I'm just going to stick to software development, right? And I think that the next big thing that's going to happen is how we're going to use AI to close the loop. So I think that right now we've done a ton of progress in improving every single stage of the software development life cycle, but somehow the loop isn't closed, right? I love to see AI looking at the way applications are performing, and then based on that data, going all the way back to code and telling developers how to change things, how to do things to align them with whatever the business goal is. So eventually, based on how that application is performing, is that, hey, you may want to change X, Y, and Z in order to, for example, improve performance. Or the other way around, is that, hey, my goal is to optimize cost, and I want to reduce cost based on what I'm seeing, nowadays. So I feel that is a huge opportunity, because that's going to lead to a ton of savings, especially people and companies are spending more and more time, and money on cloud providers. That's going to be a huge opportunity for a ton of small companies.
If only there was an all-in-one, code hosting CI/CD platform that does these things. I wonder.
I know one.
Oh yeah.
I would say that my experience of the last year has been that where the growth is going to come is basically the normies. I don't really know any other way to describe it. It's like, at the moment, like up until now, a lot of AI development has been like AI companies selling to other tech companies at a very technical level, trying to do development tools, and like a lot of selling pickaxes to miners, which is great because we needed to get that done. But like the big opportunity this year is going to be getting it out into the regular world. Company, big Fortune 500 companies who do not consider themselves tech companies. Just going, we need this as a service, we need this to, improve our banking, improve our insurance, improve our lawyers, improve, whatever vertical it is that you're in. That's where the companies that are serving that need, the companies which are not selling pickaxes to miners anymore, the companies that are selling, consumer businesses, are going to really take off in this year.
Awesome. That is actually a great segue to the next talk. So with that, I'd like to thank our panelists for being up here and joining us today. Everyone give a round of applause.